After a very positive victory in the FA Cup, Leeds United are back in action in the EFL Championship, and it's against Cardiff City. You might remember the first match of the season was against Cardiff City, and it ended 2-2 after what was a hell of a dramatic comeback. The squad was in flux, and we had no idea what was going on, and it's a bit different now. But before we get into it, I just want to say thank you. I've finally breached 1,000 subscribers. It is massively appreciated from you guys. Every one of you that subscribed, thank you deeply. Anyway, into it. Going to start with the team news, then I'm going to go through the predicted lineup, then what we can expect from Cardiff, including what they're not so good at, how we can win, and my predictions for the match. So, to start with, team news. Ilham Meslier is back in. He has finally had his ban removed for slapping someone in the face like an absolute idiot. Klaasen's time in net hasn't been too bad. He hasn't had much to do, but I've seen a lot of people say, why don't we get Klaasen in permanently? He could just be the goalkeeper. He's dealt with like 3 shots. Very premature to be saying that. Outside of Ilham Meslier, who will probably be starting, Charlie Cresswell is out of the squad for reasons that we have dived into in great detail, at least Daniel Farke has, and if you go and have a look at my last video, you can see a little bit more of a deep dive into that. In addition to that, we still have no Pascal Stroke, and Liam Cooper is reportedly a doubt for this match. We're not too sure whether he'll be fit enough or not to play. And there's a few positive notes, though. Jamie Shackleton is likely to be available because he played against Peterborough, didn't seem to have any fitness issues. And in addition to that, Sam Byram, Jan Poveda, and Joe Gelhardt are all back in team training, which could see their reintroduction into this side. So, based on all this news, what is my predicted lineup? I've gone with Ilham Meslier in net, just because that sort of makes sense to me. The back line is a little bit of a weird one. Shackleton on the right-hand side, I think that works because he did pretty well against Peterborough. Rodon and Ampadu as centre-backs did, again, quite well against Peterborough. And centre-back is a little bit of a relative rest for Ethan Ampadu. I know he's not going to get any time off in this side, but compared to what he was doing in midfield, it's a little bit more chill for him, and it means that we can do something slightly different in midfield, which I will show you in a moment. And Firpo on the left-hand side, because I just don't think Byram's fit enough quite yet. You don't want to risk him, especially when he's very injury-prone, as is. Bench for Byram, I think, works. Not the first team. Outside of that, delving into midfield, we have Gray and Kamara. I've gone for something a little bit more playmaky here, just because I feel like we won't necessarily need to break things up so aggressively in the midfield. If we do, then Archie Gray can always dip in a little bit. Ampadu could step up. We can make changes. We've got a fairly deep squad. The next front line, I've gone for what we did against... Who was it that we played then? Was it Birmingham? I think it was Birmingham. With Somerville, Rutter, and James. Rutter definitely playing in that 10 role. It worked really effectively against Birmingham. And that is going to be behind Patrick Bamford, because you can't really drop someone after they score a Puskas Award-winning, probably, goal, can you? Quite difficult to do. So we know what we're going to do with the Leeds United side. The question is, what can we expect from Cardiff? So I had a quick look at some of their past matches, some of their data, all sorts, basically. They are a fairly passive side that are used to playing in their own half. That is a very nice way of saying they will sit back and let us come onto them, which low blocks, not what we're good at dealing with, at least until we had Jorginho Rutter in the 10. That might change things up a bit. We'll find out. In addition to that, they are very strong at aerial duels and set pieces, which is something that we might have to do something to counter. I'll get onto that in a minute. And they have very lethal finishing. In terms of their XG created, they are towards the bottom of the league, but they're in 9th place because they've scored 9 more goals than they're meant to. Their finishing is obscene. I don't know how they do it. It could be to do with the set pieces, perhaps not giving the XG that they should, but we need to limit their chances, because if they get the slightest sniff of an opportunity, they are going to take it, and that could be problems. However, they're not necessarily a good side. They suffer from a lot of individual errors, especially in defence and especially against skillful players. Looking at Somerville, James, Rutter, they can cause a lot of problems to this team. And in addition to that, it is not the fastest back line in the slightest. I can't remember who it was that plays as their left back. It's Collins. He's 29, I think. He's a fairly big lad, and he isn't going to outrun Dan James. So that's something we can potentially exploit. In addition to that, they're missing Karlan Grant and Aaron Ramsey. That's a lot of creativity come from the midfield and a lot of physicality and control. That means we're going to get a little bit more freedom. That's why I've gone for that Kamara Gray midfield, purely because they're not just going to get snapped and shut down. They're going to be able to do a little bit more, a little bit like cleverer passing, stuff like that. Stuff we could know that they can do, but would otherwise be afraid of them getting overrun. In addition to that, they are the 6th least creative side in the Championship. That means in terms of XG created, they are 18th in the division. It's not really good enough, and is something that we can really focus on dealing with and getting as many opportunities as we can whilst limiting theirs. We are really good defensively. We have, I think, the 2nd best XG against in the league. I'm just going to make that 100% certain because, as I always like saying, I like making sure that at least from a statistical point of view, I'm getting everything right for you guys. No, we have the best defence in the league, so Cardiff should not create too much today. So, how do Leeds United win? There are a few simple steps that I think we can take, and first up is not even to do with Cardiff. Focus on Ruter's creativity in the 10. When he played as a number 10 against Birmingham, pulled the other side apart, wasn't even close, top tier football, and we can just focus on that. We can do that more, and I like it. He's a very good number 10. Yes, he can do that number 9 stuff as well, but if he focuses on the 10, really hones it in, make sure he's a specialist in that role, I have no doubt about the fact that he will be one of the best. Not even necessarily in the Championship, but he'll get picked up by the highest level sides. And outside of that, we can use Ruter to make full use of Dan James against Collins, as I mentioned earlier. Dan James, really fast. Collins, less fast. On the other flank, you've got Somerville with Perry Eng potentially dealing with him. And although Somerville is quick and speedy and skillful, Eng isn't bad. And that means I think we need to shift our focus onto the other side. I think on whoscored.com, Eng has their best rating for a defender. So I think focusing on the right-hand side makes a lot of sense. And in addition to that, we need effective ball retention at the back. Ampadu, really good at finding a pass. Rodon, for a centre-back, really good with the ball at his feet. The more those players keep the ball, play it sensibly into midfield and don't lose it, the fewer corners they're getting, the fewer free kicks they're getting, the fewer opportunities they are going to get to attack us from set pieces because that is what they are good at. Now, my predictions for the match. I think we'll see a very creative side in midfield and we will generate a hell of a lot of chances. Cardiff aren't too bad defensively, but they're not brilliant either. They can very easily be gotten at. And I think, especially with Patrick Bamford being incredibly confident, he's going to play well. We know he's a confidence player. He scored the match before the last one, and in the last one, we saw what happened when he was building on that confidence. I think it's going to be a very good match for Bamford. Or he will have a mistake early on and things will slip a little bit, but I'm looking positive on this one. It will all come down to actually finishing our chances, though, and if we're on good form, we know James can finish, we know Somerville can finish, we know Bamford can score goals. Ruter will put chances on a plate for all of them, and if we are finishing our chances, this could be a very good match. If they sit in a low block, I think it could be a struggle, because we haven't seen how Ruter deals with a low block, because Birmingham weirdly decided, you know what, we'll play aggressive football against Leeds. Didn't work, they fell apart. Ruter as a 10 against a deep-lying backline could be difficult, basically. But I am ultimately optimistic. I'm going to say comfortable win. We'll give away a stupid goal. People will have an opportunity to scream at Melier again, but I'm going to say 3-1. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, though. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, and maybe even check out my Cresswell video from yesterday, because I think that gives a quite interesting insight into what's going on behind the scenes and why he's not making it into the side. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you later.